All right, we've got the 2023 Collegiate Beach Volleyball season looming in just a few weeks. And with me on screen representing the Big West, Long Beach State, the Beach's head coach, Mike Campbell. Thanks for coming on today.
Rob, thanks for having me. Stoked to have a minute here to chat some volley with you. We're really excited here for spring.
Well, I was looking over your record. It's a pretty impressive record. You look at in the Big West, your conference record last year in 2022 was 22-14. That was the best record in the conference. But even looking in your previous seasons, you have 3 seconds and a couple thirds, as well as that first place finish. So you're doing good stuff with your teams.
Yeah. I mean, we geographically where we're located, we've got some great recruits and alumni that have really helped us maintain that competitiveness, and it's been fun working with it. And this being my 9th season, I'm real excited to, we really have some connections we've made, and some, like I said, with the athletes, the recruits we've got this year and coming in, it's been fun to have that duration. That's the challenge, is doing it year after year after year, but doing it differently. And, every group has been different.
Not a knock on the other Big West coaches, but I was looking at the all-time coaching record in the Big West, and you're second, but the number one guy is retired. So that makes you the active leading best record coach right now.
No pressure, Rob. I gotta keep that going, I guess.
And on top of that, you're coach here in 2017. So you're doing some really good stuff. But I wanted to start off with a general question about what major changes have you seen in the development and growth of collegiate beach volleyball since you've been on board?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first and foremost, I'm sure the obvious is just the massive growth, right? It's not only has the sport become deeper at every level, from the pairs standpoint, from the ranking 1 through 5, but every school is committing resources and scholarships. And it's just great as a player who grew up playing the sport as a kid, seeing that opportunity now for women, and even filter over onto the men's side as well. I think that has been just really promising, not only as a coach, but just as an advocate for the sport of beach volleyball. It's great to see things moving at such a fast rate, but not to the point where the sport has been diluted, right? It's not happening at the expense of the quality of the product that's being put out there. You know what I mean? So the sport has not only grown so rapidly, but it's also become extremely competitive across not only the top 10 teams, but even outside that 10, 11 through 20. And then even beyond that, every school you're starting to see especially with this fall championship, they're putting out some really good pairs, and it's really competitive, and there's no easy matches anymore. 5-6 years ago, you could kind of predict some things. I mean, it's up in the air now. You see a top ranked team go against another top ranked team, and it's a mental battle. It's comparable to the sports of golf and tennis, where it's really going to come down to the mental psyche of your athletes, and less about talent and more about some of the other intangibles.
Yeah. Now, you actually brought up something that I was going to ask you about, but this is the first year that the NCAA allowed for a fall competition schedule. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then go into how you felt the pairs team did that you sent?
Yeah, we were fortunate to send 2. Both teams did very strong. We kind of are in one of the, I know a lot of other programs may share this, but we do share athletes. And so there was well, first and foremost, it was tough. You have a lot of competitive athletes in your program, and you have to select 2 or 4. It's just first year doing it for me. I learned a lot about that process. I learned how to be more transparent with our team, how we can evaluate it better. We ended up sending a great representation for our program, but it wasn't easy. It was tough to select some athletes, and being fair and respecting, the players that have been here and that have helped us earn those bids, and yet the players that needed to come in and get some experience. You have to kind of weigh that for your team and figure out what's best. Now, with that said, like you mentioned, we sent 2 pairs, and they both did very well. The tournament format was a little new for us, in the sense that when we got knocked out, we kept playing, and then we lost 2 matches. Usually athletes are, okay, double limb, I'm done. We kept playing, so it was great, because it was an awesome experience for athletes to continue to compete. But it was just I don't want to say there was a drop off, because the competition was still top notch, but it just there was a feel when you got knocked out that it was a little bit, there wasn't the same weight of those matches, what was on the line. However, the teams that did stay in, we stayed and we watched the finals, and it was a battle. It was just great to see an opportunity for a pair to just kind of do their thing, and it really prepares the athletes for what they might be used to when they graduate, and if they're fortunate enough to play professionally or represent our country.
Yeah. Now, with that experience from the fall, let's go into your 2023 team. I know you were pretty excited about some of the recruits that had come in, because I saw you at an event last year and you're like, Rob, you got to check out these two girls.
Yeah.
But I'll let you talk about those girls, and I won't mention who they are, but you got some really good pieces in place to ascend even higher in the conference.
Yeah, we've always battled. We've done really well. Like I mentioned, we've really nailed it with some of our recruits in the past, and they just turned out to be great human beings, great athletes. They represented us well. They competed. But this year's class is a little different. We brought in 7 athletes, and then some grad transfers. And it's just, when you have that big of a class, you're always, as a coach, you're always worried, how does it all fit? How does it all piece together? The culture is we were in such a great place, but we lost some of our leadership, our seniors, our kind of our cornerstones of our lineup. And this freshman group came in, and they did really strong in the fall. They competed, they were edgy, but they were respectful. They honored the traditions and the legacy before them. They're aware of that, which I think is really cool. And the current senior class and our upperclassmen, it's a little weird. Our team is we don't have a lot of juniors, sophomores. We're very heavy on the outskirts, on the freshmen, and then the grad. And so that older group has done a great job mentoring and understanding that, hey, these are players that might play ahead of me, but it's still important that I have a role in their development, even though they might be a 2 and I'm a 5, or sometimes you can get caught in that number game. And our team has been able to stay really focused on just development, pushing each other to just kind of find that best version of themselves as a competitor and as a teammate. And I'm really excited, because when some of that is taken care of, a lot of the conflicts and a lot of the lineup decisions and the conflict of a lineup decision, or some of the mental health of these athletes, that is a little bit, when that's buttoned up, it makes some of these matches a little easier when we can just focus on our job and we know we have the full support of our team. There's nobody in the team that's worried about, that should have been me, or that could have been me. It's really more team focused, and this group has done a really good job of that. And it hasn't been easy. This isn't just this perfect thing that came together. There has been conversation and healthy conflict, and it's made us better. And so I'm excited to roll that out now in the team format, right? Where, like we talked about in the fall, it was a little bit more pairs focused. We did a few team things, but it was still kind of, hey, you guys are together today, go play, we're rooting for you. You know what I mean? It didn't have that same 1-5 feel.
Yeah. Well, if fall was any indicator of what we can see from Long Beach State, the teams that I saw were Skylar German, Taylor Haganaw, Megan Widener, and Malia Gemantera. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, we sent them to Alabama. That's right.
And usually that kind of play is infectious to the rest of the team, because they were doing some really good stuff. In fact, I think they won a tournament. I missed one in Huntington Beach, I believe. But was it Taylor and Malia that won that Paris tournament?
That's right. Yeah, they had a great run. They played some great teams. USC was there, and an extremely competitive group throughout that tournament, not only with USC, but with other schools that attended, and they played well. We were lucky enough and got some wind. That's always the neutralizer, right? And they just kind of put their heads down, and they had a great time, and they just showed a lot of experience, which is what those two in that freshman class, they've garnered a lot of they've gotten a lot of attention just because of the fact that they've played a lot. They're putting themselves in good spots throughout their junior career. They had great coaches in those respective, when they were in high school and even before then, and so they just played really, really outstanding that tournament. You know what I mean? And there wasn't a ton of pressure on them to perform. I kind of knew, the prior weekend we had kind of switched it, right? And then this week we went 2 freshmen and 2, the older players, and it just looked better. And so that's what we sent to Alabama, and it was great for team development, but it was great for individual development. And now they can kind of share with some of the other young kids what they experienced, and the other 2 older players can share with some of the older players. So there's just a lot of networking there within our team that can happen, and I think that's always a cool opportunity as a teammate to be able to lead others in a way that makes them better.
Yeah. Well, let's move into the Big West Conference. I don't want you to share too much about your Long Beach State team because these guys still got to play. But so what teams in the Big Conference are preseason favorites in that you've seen so far?
Yeah, in our conference, we've always had the 3-team battle between Hawaii, Cal Poly, and Long Beach. But honestly, every team in our conference is bringing it. We do the Big West Challenge in the middle of the year where everybody has an opportunity to play each other. And if our last year's conference tournament was any indication of what to expect this year, I mean, you don't see many 5-0 wins. There's a lot of 3-2, 4-1. Every match is, you 5-6 years ago, maybe you're resting somebody here and there, right? Or you're adjusting a lineup here and there. You got to bring it. You got to have your A game there, and you got to go, right? Davis gave us a great match last year, heading into the final day of our tournament, and I mean, I think all 5 pairs went 3, and however nerve-wracking that is, and I'm sure for them, Allie and Kevin McCullough felt probably the same thing as Christian and myself at the time. We're terrified, right? We're very nervous. We feel all the anxiety, all the emotions for our team. But when you reflect on that and you see that, that's one of the teams that is pushing you and making you better, and in turn making the other 2 schools that are ahead of us at the time was Cal Poly and Hawaii. I think it's just been great for everyone, right? Bakersfield's putting out, Cesar over at Bakersfield's putting out great program, great teams. It's just, I think as beach volleyball has grown to continue to see 2 teams from our conference every year at the playoffs, at the NCAA championships, I think that's a great indicator of how strong the conference has done. And the 3, like I said, the 3 common threads have been Long Beach, Cal Poly, Hawaii. I hope it continues for the sake of our program, but I'm really excited to see all these other teams pushing each other within our conference. I think it's just awesome for the product of volleyball we're putting out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that goes naturally to my next question. Who are some of the athletes or pairs that fans should be looking out for? Like, who do you see being top performers come this 2023 season?
Yeah, I mean, within our conference, you've got, I believe Hawaii is returning their top pair from last year.
Brooke Van Sickle and Jamie Santer? Or no, that's Kaylee Glago.
Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
but also Kylan Loker and Jamie, they've got an extremely deep and talented roster, because those players have been at that level for so many years. They're getting such great experience. So I think that them being intact at 1-2 really strengthens everything below them, right? Because you can just see the cascading effect that might have on other athletes in that program, where Evan has always done a great job with his recruits and his training. So I think that's a real strong program there that he's got. And specifically, Brooke, what she's able to do out there on the volleyball court, I've been on the other side of it many times, and she's tremendous. And so that's a person that honestly, he could put her with anyone, and she's going to make that pair really, really competitive and really, make that person better. So I think that's one of the teams that we definitely want within our conference. Even as we prepare, we're making sure we pay attention to that team. And Todd at Cal Poly, I mean, he's done an amazing job with that school, and he's got some great young athletes, and Jalen Lombard returning as one of his pairs that he sent to Alabama, and seeing how they were able to do and playing their style of play with some of the sophomores this year that he's got now. I mean, that's Piper and Ella, right?
Yep.
Those are some great young players. So teams like that are always dangerous, right? Those are really competitive players coached by somebody, arguably one of the best representatives of U.S. beach volleyball at the highest level, and extremely competitive in himself, Todd Rogers. So I think those are some of the teams we are definitely going to be battling with, right?
Yeah. So just for you watching and listening, it's Piper Furch and Ella Connor. So be on the lookout for them from Cal Poly. Naturally, let's go on outside the conference. Who are some of the top teams in your opinion to watch?
Well, UCLA this year, I have a feeling they've got a lot of weapons. We saw them in the preseason in the fall, and I think they had a couple. They were banged up a little bit. Devin Newberry wasn't playing. I think Lexi was out. they were holding back some of their starters from their last year's squad, but they were very strong. And their freshman class, I think Maggie Boyd being one of the featured athletes in that class. I mean, there's some good volleyball players in that program, right? And we're lucky enough we get to be, like I said, where we're geographically located, we get an opportunity to play a lot of these teams multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah.
We will be on the side of that with them battling, and that'll be fun. I think that's a team we always enjoy playing. They've always done well, and so we like to use them as that kind of measuring stick for us. Okay, hey, we know this is going to be a top program. We might see if we're lucky enough to get to Alabama and in the NCAA championship. So let's really measure ourselves and figure out, okay, what are we not doing? What are we doing well? What are things that are working as strengths? Where are maybe areas that they expose that we need to really get on top of? USC does the same thing. I always schedule with USC. Dane and Gustavo are great coaches over there that have always put out, a very beginning of the year. I love playing with, them because, again, I think we hosted them last year on our courts. We're going to them first match, playing them in GCU. I mean, these are going to be tough matches for us, and these are teams we, strategically schedule to push ourselves early in the year. I think this year included, as well as last year. I mean, our first 12 matches, I think 10 teams within the top 10. And that by design. I wish I could say that was just luck. No, that's by design, because I think we have the program this year that the athletes we need to be pushed to that level to see. Outside of USC, UCLA, it was nice to go to Alabama and see some of the East Coast teams. We're not fortunate enough to always travel there, and we don't always get these teams when they come out to us. But it'll be real interesting to see how, what LSU looks like this year. I know Florida State's going to be really strong. Those are kind of the perennial powerhouses out there. Stetson, we had a bunch of matches against them, and they were doing some good things with their pairs, and so it's hard to predict, but I think there's going to be, kind of your powerhouses, and then also some of the teams that are going to be pushing them, and in doing so are making themselves pretty dangerous to go against. I guess, one of the other teams I'm sure we're excited to play is LMU. That's something that's our crosstown rival, if I could say, and
the PCH battle.
Exactly right, just cruising the coast there, and John and I don't think we actually scheduled, but then now we're able to play each other at the Battle of LA. So I believe, and that's a team I think, whether we play them or not, I think that's a great team. And then obviously TCU. TCU is one of the teams outside of our conference that I've known Hector for a long time. I think one of the first years he was out here coaching a high school club team over at Sunshine. I remember coaching with him, and he's just always been a great coach, and what he's done over at TCU has been really impressive. So I think they're, that the top international talent that they have, and how he's been able to recruit grad students and as well as incoming athletes, they've done really well. So that's another team we definitely are people should be paying attention to this year. They're going to be real strong.
Now, I was going to ask you about, there's been a change in the championship format this year. Can you explain a little bit about that and how that's going to affect the play come Gulf Shores weekend?
Yeah, so last year, for the viewers, it was a 16-team field, but that first round was single elim, and then once you made it into the 8, it was double elim. And now it's still a 16-team draw, but it's single elim through and through. So, it'll be interesting how that kind of impacts things and changes things for teams. I think the way that it's a tough, of course, naturally I have some bias because I'm one of the teams that if you don't win conference, you're kind of vying for one of those wild cards. But I thought the committee, they do their best with the information they have, and there's always going to be a few teams that get left out. I mean, 16-team draws is for the amount of competitive teams in the sport right now, someone's going to be upset, right?
In case people are wondering, there are 176 total teams in collegiate beach volleyball.
Yeah, and that's crazy because it was 9 years ago when I started, 35 or so, right? And
Yep.
so, I think one of the cool things is being an opportunity to be selected to that, you get that chance right away where, if you upset someone, that dramatically changes the outlook of this tournament for not only you, but for everyone else. And so I think it'll be really exciting. The single elim format is different. I mean, it is what it is for us as coaches. It's always nice to have that parachute in case something happens, like an injury or, something you just can't
Yeah.
really control. But it just makes you work a little harder as a coach, and you have to train your athletes kind of, hey, got to be, we got to be at our best. And that's what championships are about, right? It's about bringing the best that you have at the moment at that moment in time and being measured, and to be able to do it at that level is always really exciting.
Yeah. Well, this is Mike Campbell of Long Beach State Beach Volleyball here doing our Big West preview and kind of NCAA preview. I appreciate the time you've taken today to share a little bit about what's happening and what could be happening this 2023 season.
Yeah, Rob, thank you for having me. I think it'll be a real exciting season for a lot of programs. We're really excited over here at Long Beach, so looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.